Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Rslash ProRevenge. In today's episode, mess with my wife, I'll take your rank. Handed in my supervisor's brother's application form for a job at a new place to our current employer. Well, if you're going to ask to be muted. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Mess with my wife, I'll take your rank. Back in 2013, I was transferred from sunny San Diego to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. I had been in the Marines for over 4 years and had been sent to a unit that would finally give me the chance to deploy to Afghanistan. In case you don't know, before your unit deploys overseas, you have a mountain of classes and training to get done, which starts around 6 months or so prior to the date. I had become close friends with Joe, whom I senior most corporal. I was the only sergeant in my platoon, and we hung out all the time outside of work. We would barbecue, go to the gym, have parties with the families, etc. Well, that fateful time comes and we get sent to the land of never-ending sand. About 4 months in, I start to get a funny feeling that something was not right due to the lack of being able to talk to my wife on the phone or Facebook Messenger. I do have a special skill that I honed from sneaking past my Vietnam veteran father, who was very set in that bedtime meant bedtime, and not raid the fridge for snacks time. I am very quiet, and you won't hear me coming unless I want you to. One day, I came into our PEB, just a big container that housed around 8 people in it, and seen my wife's face on the video chat of my best friend Joe, who didn't hear me until I shut the door. I played it off like nothing, and the rest of the deployment had moments just like this, where I would see or hear them talking, and just take notes for my revenge. Before things really got to me mentally, our time in the sandbox was coming to an end and we flew home. The homecoming was uneventful other than my 2-year-old not realizing who I was for a few minutes, then it was happiness all around. Just like before deploying, we have a mountain of classes after we get back to scan for TBI, traumatic brain injuries, mental health awareness, certifications, etc., and nobody was exempt from completing the various death by PowerPoint classes that were scheduled for that week. Out of nowhere, Joe had random appointments almost every day, or something would come up where it would have to leave while everyone else was stuck all day long at a class, or at medical getting screened for everything under the sun. Do you ever have the feeling that your gut is telling you 100% that something is going on, but your brain is like, no, stop being paranoid? Well, that's what I was dealing with on a daily basis. I began to follow Joe a few days a week when he would leave work early or have to make a call, and sure enough, his car would be right outside my house every single time. When I finally confronted Joe, he denied it up and down like I was going crazy, and genuinely made me feel like I was offending him by the accusations. I quietly compiled the evidence and brought it all to the battalion sergeant major, who, if you don't know, is the top of the food chain under the battalion commander. After a week or so, I get called into the battalion commander's office to discuss his findings, and to ask me what I want to happen. My answer is simple: I want his rank. Justice came swift and painful. Joe was awarded loss of rank, forfeiture of 1/2 month's pay for 2 months, restriction, and extra duties. Shortly after we came back to the States, Joe was promoted to sergeant, and in less than a month, his rank was gone. I heard from mutual friends that he left his wife to be with his new girlfriend, who was also pregnant with his 3rd son. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I was trying to stay with my wife for my son, but I found that that was a huge mistake. A few months after the dust settled, I was transferred back to San Diego to go on a cruise, and my wife and I were giving this our last shot. I went underway for 2 weeks, and guess where she flies to? His house, to have their last bit of time together. After I found all of this out, I just lost any interest in being nice and making it work. I deployed on the ship, and actually met my new wife there. We've been together ever since, and I have been much happier than when I was being mentally tortured by my ex. Moral of the story: don't screw your best friend's wife. Handed in my supervisor's brother's application form for a job at a new place to our current employer. My supervisor and myself had worked with each other for a few years, and eventually he got moved up to the supervisor's position. After a few months, he got his dozy brother a job driving the pickup around and collecting our rubbish from building works at various houses/locations. He was a bit work shy and would usually do anything he could to get out of any hard work. He was slowly falling out of favor with the managers due to his idleness. One day he rang in sick because he didn't want to do the next day's work as it was going to require too much energy on his part. So I had to go and drive the pickup for the day, not a job I enjoyed, so off I went to his home to collect the pickup. This happens to be a Monday when we have to hand in our time sheets. I have already handed in my paperwork before leaving for his house, and as I got in the pickup I could see his timesheet ECT sat on the passenger's seat, and inside was a fully filled out application form for a job at another company. That's when the phone rang. It was my supervisor who then shouted at me, "Where's my brother's timesheet?" This annoyed me and I told him he is responsible for his own timesheets, not me. He then demanded I drive to the office and hand in his timesheet for him. This also annoyed me as it added extra time at the end of my day. So I thought, yes, I will happily hand in your brother's timesheet along with everything that's on the seat. So if I went and handed them all over to my manager along with his application form for another company. I found out about the sh*t it caused a few days later, and my supervisor never believed me when I said I hadn't noticed any application form. He eventually got sacked a few months later for being completely useless. Well, if you're going to ask to be muted. I'm an admin in AF** book group, and about the only way we can exercise discipline if someone gets rude to other members is to mute them, or kick them out entirely, but we try to mute first. It's a discussion group that attempts to bring together two sides of an issue, so obviously, there can be contention between the two sides, with people on the same side usually sticking up for each other. So, we had to mute one of the people on one side, and another person on the same side piped up and said, "What did he do that I didn't do? Why don't you mute me?" So I did. For clarity, both had violated the rules, but at least the second guy had somewhat apologized for his rudeness and stopped violating them. The first guy just ramped it up, which earned him the mute. Both people are fairly new to the group, so we try to go easy on them at first, since they may not realize that we're trying to keep a friendly vibe between people, even if we're on opposite sides of the issue. But hey, if you're going to ask for a mute, I'll oblige. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.